Yeah, thanks for having me on, Sarah. I think, overall, things are as we predicted. I mean, as we look around the globe, the activity level remains good. I mean, obviously, China has been a bit soft for us year to date, although we see that activity picking up here early in the month of March, and I think it's tough to call for March. Overall, U.S. has been generally steady. So it's, I think the market is reacting in a fairly dramatic way, but we don't think there is going to be anything structural in the long term. And although, Q1 and Q2 could be impacted to some extent, we think that overall the year 2020 is still going to be a strong one for us.
And what about supply chains in the short term? Have you felt direct impact of that?
Yeah, we've been getting ready for that impact in China. We actually have 20 facilities in China, and we had all but 4 operational on February 10th. So for us, we've been prepared, and our supply chain impact is relatively muted. So we're a little bit more concerned about the softening of the economies, and particularly in China. But from a supply chain perspective, we actually reacted well. Probably our only concern is continue of supply downstream from us, from our second and third tiered suppliers. But really, so far, so good in terms of what we're seeing.
What about what you're seeing in terms of consumer behavior and the demand for the masks that you are making? So you make some of these protective masks. Do you have enough of them right now?
Yeah. No, I mean, we're operating those facilities. We basically have 3 facilities that make masks. We're operating those plants 24/7. We're expanding our capacity by the end of the month and then again in April. It's not a big part of our business, but it's a significant, and right now it's booming. So we're trying to bring capacity online as quickly as we possibly can, because right now we can't even fulfill the demand we have.
I mean, governments in particular are trying to increase their production. In the U.S., HHS, according to Meg Terrell, says we need 3.5 billion N95 respirator masks, or million, excuse me, or no, billion. We have 10% of that in the stockpile.
Right.
35 million. What do we do about that?
No, we're trying to literally expand our capacity as quickly as we can. We've made some investments already. We're looking to make even more. We're going to double our capacity in the next 60 days, so that's the good news. But that's not going to be nearly enough to satisfy the current demand.
Darius, let's talk about the major announcement today, the new quantum computing platform and an initial partnership to test that with JP Morgan. Talk us through exactly what that is. This is going to be the most powerful computer ever made, is that right?
That's correct, because the way we measure sort of quantum computing power is really through effective qubits. We're actually going to have 6 effective qubits, which is going to make our computer the world's most powerful quantum computer. We're very proud to have JP Morgan as one of our flagship customers. That was announced today, as well as some equity investments in some quantum service providers, that being CQC and Zapata. So we're building an infrastructure to be very, very successful in this important new initiative for Honeywell.
What is the practical application of quantum computing?
Yeah, there's really various ones. Anything in material science, route optimization, financial software, which is what JPM is going to be using it for. But anything that really overwhelms a classic computer is a perfect application for a quantum computer, given the computer power that's available. We're using it internally for some of our material science research for our UOP business. So the possibilities are endless, and it's going to open up a whole new areas of research and dramatic reduction in research time to discover, for example, new molecules or optimize some of the routes for travel.
And Darius, I mean, we don't typically think of you as a tech company, certainly not as a pure tech company. Does this now mean you will be competing directly with the Microsofts, Googles, IBMs of this world? I mean, JP Morgan, I think, already has a partnership with IBM for quantum computing power.
Right. Well, I think it's a shame that people don't think of us as a technology company, because that's what we are. We happen to provide technologies for the industrial space. But nevertheless, there's going to be competition in quantum. We feel very good about our offering. We feel we're ahead from a technology perspective. this is going to be a large marketplace that's going to evolve over the course of the next 2, 3, 4 years. But this is the new Honeywell. We're a technology-oriented company that's going to compete in some of the latest and greatest technologies out there. So whether it's quantum computing or software, that's the future of Honeywell.
Is there a consumer impact and benefit from the use of quantum computing in industrial activity?
Absolutely. I think it's a little bit too early to tell. I mean, we're literally have our very first customers starting up work on a quantum computer right now, and the possibilities are endless. So a lot of the benefit of quantum computing is still yet to be discovered. But something with the kind of computing power that our quantum computer offers is something to really be utilized both by consumers and industrial applications. Those possibilities are literally endless right now.
Before we let you go, Darius, just a final word on the broader landscape. Industrials like yours are getting punished as people worry about the economic ramifications of the coronavirus. It sounds like what you're saying is that you think the market is getting a little too worried about it. Just sum up your take for us as you see this all playing out.
Yeah. I mean, if the market is reflective of the long-term performance of the company, I don't have any concern whatsoever. I don't think that there's something that's structurally damaging for the long term. I mean, could there be an economic impact for us and some of the industrial companies that's a quarter or two long? Perhaps. But we think that this is a temporary and transitory issue that's going to get resolved. I think that the governments are reacting to it aggressively. We saw that in China. We see it in some of the other places in the world. And particularly with the warm weather coming, we think that this is a temporary issue that's going to be addressed. And we've certainly been preparing for it. We knew on the supply chain how it would hit us. And we anticipate having a very positive bounce back reaction once we get this behind us.
Have you had to cancel a lot of employee travel and meetings or anything like that?
Well, obviously, we've canceled a lot of our, to some of the areas that are highly effective, and the safety of our employees is always the number one paramount. But we haven't, sort of had broad level cancellations across the board of travel. Within the U.S., we think that travel is generally safe. To some of the places in Asia and in Europe, it's also safe. But some of the places like China, obviously, northern Italy, and other places, we've restricted travel. And we just want to be smart about it and continue to monitor the situation. Obviously, we literally have every morning meeting on the situation and seeing how it's changing and the rate of infections and so on. And we're ready to change should it become much more severe.
All right, Darius, thank you for joining us.